As we've been confronted over the last few weeks with the difficult issues of racism, its effects in the life of our country, and the systemic reality of its connection with our society, with our culture as a whole, and as we have seen the results, the anger that can come about because of the injustice that arises from that. It's a moment that has forced me to stop and really reflect, sort of, where did this come from? Because the reality is, racism is not just an issue for the United States. It's a systemic issue in pretty much every society that exists in some level, in some form. So why is that true? And I think if we kind of look to the scriptures, we can begin to unpack sort of the reality, the truth that racism is a sin. And it's been embedded in the human condition almost from the beginning. And racism is basically based on the idea that there's an issue with the other, however you define other. It starts with Cain and Abel. Cain had an issue with his brother. His brother was other, so his brother was the enemy. All the problems in his life were caused by the very existence of Abel. So he killed him. It goes to the people of Israel as they are in the land of Egypt and they are enslaved. And what's the issue? They're other. They're the enemy. They can cause us harm. So we have to oppress them. And this continues as people of Israel, as they are freed and as the kingdom of Israel is created. In time, it divides into two. And though they have enemies all around them, one of their biggest focuses is on the other side. It's the other kingdom. Because the other kingdom is other. They're no longer part of us. And that will continue throughout the history of the Bible. And we see it even at the time of Jesus when the Jews look down on the Samaritans. They're related and yet they're other. They're wrong. And unfortunately, that sin even existed within the early church. And we see it in the Acts of the Apostles. When the people come to complain to the apostles about the fact that the widows of the Hebrews are being treated better than the widows of the Greeks. But it doesn't end there. Paul talks about the division that occurs in Corinth between the rich and poor. And it all comes back down to the same thing, the same issue. The issue of other. Other is the problem. All of our issues arise because of the other. And if we could just get rid of them, if they could just be put in their place, if they could just be whatever, then everything would be okay. But the reality is, other is not the problem. And in fact, as we begin to look at the other as the problem, that's where the sin completely deepens. Because that's where the injustice, that's where oppression, that's where we can treat the other however we want. and lose the reality of who they really are. That the other is no different than us, because for the simple reason we are all made in the same way, in the image and likeness of God. As a Christian, we have to recognize there's no such thing as other. Not by nationality, not by race, not by creed, not by politics. There simply are human beings who are called to love unconditionally. We have to recognize that Jesus came to die for all. He made no difference, no differentiation. He died for the very people who were killing him. And he died for those who would reject him. For Jesus, there is no other. There simply is those whom he loves, which is all. The only way we can overcome the problems of our society, we cannot change the systemic issues that exist on our own. But we can make a decision to make a change. If every Christian in this country made this one choice, it would have a huge impact. But I think even if just each one of us on our own choose to act in this one way, it would begin to make a change. And it's this simple thing. Recognizing there is no such thing as other. And choosing to love as God loves, unconditionally. And that means making the decision that I am going to treat each and every human being that I come in contact with simple respect and dignity, for no other reason than they exist. It doesn't matter what they look like, it doesn't matter how they dress, it doesn't matter the color of their skin, it doesn't even matter the choices they have made in their life, whether we agree or disagree with them. There's only one thing that matters, that they are loved by God. And we know they are loved by God for the simple reason that they exist. The world can't fix itself. Only God can do that. The world can't change this problem. Only God can. But we can be part of God's instrument in bringing about the change that needs to happen. And that's when we decide each and every day to truly be God's instrument. To truly see that there is no other around us. There are simply our brothers and sisters who are loved by our God. God bless.